Toki Manu, thanks for joining us today on AM. It is 15 minutes to 8 this morning. And there's growing concern about the influence that social media has on our kids. Parents are worried about the impact that phones are having on everything from anxiety to eating disorders. And it turns out there is data to support those concerns. 59% of our tamariki are losing quality sleep due to screen time. And just under a third don't have dedicated rules at home monitoring their online presence. Joining us now to discuss is Just a Thought clinical lead, Anna Elders, and founder of Digital Discipline, Tony Laulu. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Can I put my hand up straight away and say, in almost both those camps, 13 and 14-year-old, it's the way they operate. Is it wrong?
I don't. Well, we were just talking earlier. This is the first generation, or the first generations that we're seeing that are going through social media use. So they're almost a test case for the world, really. So there are concerns around what impact we're going to see long term in these young people growing up as they get older. So I think there definitely is cause for concern, enough for us to really think carefully about how young people are using social media and how we manage that.
Tony, Anna says it's a test case for the kids, but that means it's a test case for the parents as well. We too are learning, but some alarming stats there, and I guess one of them is around the rules about how much time you can be on your device or your phone, what's healthy and what's not.
I mean, it is a growing concern. It's one of those situations where we're potentially pioneering this catastrophe of a addiction, and so we're on the ground and we hear what the students are saying and what the young people are saying, and for that particular stat anyway, a lot of them don't have any set rules around what happens within their home. So definitely a concern.
And that word addiction, I think it's highly appropriate.
Yeah, it is. So we have to be aware of what social media does. It's sort of pushing on those dopamine triggers like other addictive sort of behaviours are as well. So we have to be aware that it's definitely something that people can slip into. I mean, I'm known to lose myself on an evening when I just want to relax in Facebook and look up and think, goodness, I've been on that for an hour. Where did that time go? So I think the other really important thing is that parents have to be aware, and adults in the house, about what their use is like, because we're modelling this. And it's very easy to tune out and use social media and devices as a way of not thinking. So we really have to be aware of how, what we're modelling, and as a family begin starting to have those conversations.
And I guess what they're watching, how they're connecting with people as well, Tony. I think it can be a device and a barrier. You hear about keyboard warriors. People will type or message you something they wouldn't necessarily say to your face, and very harmful for teenagers, particularly girls.
Yeah, it's such a double-edged sword because there's so many positives around social media. However, when you talk about, I guess our young females, especially with all the workshops we've done this year, there's a growing concern around their mental health, around body image, self-esteem, self-worth, and a lot of those sorts of themes are becoming more and more sort of prevalent now that we're doing these workshops with schools. And so there needs to be some dialogue and some discussion around it in every facet of life, whether it's at home or your community or church or even at school, because a one-time discussion on it a year is not going to really fix anything.
It's got to be on a daily, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's the main messaging, Anna? Because obviously it is part of... My kids wouldn't know where the TV remote is, yet they sit on their phones. It's the way they communicate. Yeah. How can we give the healthy messaging that in doses it's good? Because you can say it's going to be bad for your eyes, it's going to be bad for your mental health. But how do you tell a teenager to take some time out?
Yeah, so it's having those conversations when people aren't using devices. So if you can catch them when they're engaged. So we all know there are periods of the day when it's easier to have different conversations. Have them at those times. Talk about your own social media use, how easy it is to get trapped into it. And then be thinking around how people feel when they get off. So young people will often feel, sort of quite engaged, but afterwards they can feel quite irritable, they can feel a bit dysregulated. So it's really important to get people to reflect on those post-use impacts. What are the dynamics in the house when trying to get off? So but also what are the positives that people get out of them? Be aware and show an interest in what people are engaging in TikTok. Let them show you some of the funny things on there. That way you can talk about the good stuff and you can point out the things that are potentially harmful and have an idea of what your young people are looking at. So we can use this as a way to open up discussions about all sorts of challenges and expectations and peer pressures that young people have, and, you know, get into healthy discussions and debates.
Do it old school, talk to each other. Tony Laulu, founder of Digital Discipline, and Anna Elders, clinical lead, Just a Thought.